banca para adaptarnos a los nuevos tiempos, reinventarnos, desaparecer, para crear un nuevo sistema moderno y eficaz que ya se entiende por todas partes.
So this year we have a large group of thesis students. There's a total of 81 projects.
I think SCI-Arc thesis is remarkable and exceptional. There's a kind of full range of representations, and in all of those you see the kind of highest quality.
The students have been working for 2 semesters. It's an incredible experience to see students going from students to professional architects.
Immediately what comes to mind, what was very impressive here, is just simply the massive amount of work, which combine, I think, the best use of technology right now available to architecture. We should be hugely optimistic and curious about seeing future opportunities open up.
My project takes the opportunity to imagine what it would be like to break the sign of architecture while playfully reinterpreting the orthographic sequence.
The process was essentially assuming this position of architect as a sort of cyborg flaneur. I utilize AI to essentially vandalize these banal facades of these buildings by using a convolutional neural network that's trained on style transfer.
This is a very different place now than it was even 2 or 3 years ago. It's a different SCI-Arc, and in an absolutely positive way.
Why I was interested in going this route is I saw a lot of things dealing with linguistics becoming very popular within architecture. I think that almost using the slang as a reference in order to include other people within the architectural discussion is something that's very beneficial for the practice.
It's hyper self-conscious to put so much attention on how we put words next to the form. So like Benjamin says, architecture is received in a state of distraction. You kind of turned it into architecture is presented in a state of distraction.
My project is trying to negotiate awareness of the past while also constructing a new way to perhaps imagine a new future. I think it's not difficult to create something beautiful, but creating something that would perhaps bring communities together, especially today, I think that's the challenge.
How do you harness, again, those skills and talents you're taking to actually have impact on whatever capacity?
That middle ground, that is where we actually have an agency to produce work that impacts the world, but also moves the culture towards the future.
When you're here, you just automatically see things that you wouldn't see anywhere else. Our generation is more in that public audience just because of social media and the way that we've grown up.
Perhaps style is not quite the language we should be using. Perhaps we should be talking about decoration, because this seems to me to be just a wrap of decoration. You've made it very bejewelly.
This is my attempt to create a different kind of homogeneity, using the mirror as a frame, as a way to look at architecture differently.
You're making a claim that the description of a city gives you enough material to now start thinking about what an architectural project that it would be. That's pretty compelling.
The question is, how do you signal to generations many thousands of years advance that there's something to be worried about here?
The human solution has been to throw sort of technology at things, and if somebody's proposing to put solar panels over a huge area, maybe there's something more useful to do with the land underneath it.
The decision is made, does this contribute knowledge to the field in new ways rather than in old ways that really test the competence? It's a sign of a very exciting moment where we are right now.
Just by dissociating these objects from its spiritual associations and religious associations and approaching it as a mere object, I'm able to expand the possibilities and expand the potential of every single architecture that was in the past. I personally felt like people are still holding on to the past, but then I think it's time to move on and start creating something new and something relevant.
I think that this is fascinating because you're almost like circumventing our discussion about whether these new elements are the new future of architecture, because you are giving it to us in a kind of theological way.
Right.
I think we still wanted to respect the architecture that is present, because I think that history isn't about erasing something and like bringing something new. It's more about
recognizing one history and then there's another history.
In some ways that might be actually more powerful for you indicating what was, but would also be pretty bold in terms of the architecture that you're proposing.
At last, I tried to add more and more playful things into one to make a wonderful thing. And I locate this object into a very conventional site to see what happens.
What you've created is a kind of singular logic that is complete and it seems absolutely consistent, but one that we've actually never seen before. I think you did it. To me, you did it.
We want them to remember these years at SCI-Arc as something glorious in their life, but we don't want them to be the best times in their lives. Thesis offers a moment of inflection in the trajectory of a student, but they have a conversation with colleagues in which introduce the possibility of an ideal world.
You could make an argument, personality-wise, that each one of us is quite different. Emphasize that. Who are you that nobody else is?